Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. BTM here, bringing you match 51 in my Age of Empires 3 series. We have a 1v1 on Yukon. Let me just start off this match by saying I do not plan to bring you all 1v1s. I've just looked back through my channel matches. I noticed that my 3v3s and 2v2s in general get a lot more views, so I'd just like to let you know I am aware of that. I am going to bring you more team matches. A lot of people express desire to see team matches. I just get really frustrated with playing team matches when I don't know the teammates, because that's actually where I lose most of my matches. I lose them with teammates who don't know how to play, or you know what I mean. They're not as good of players always. Not saying that they're all bad, but sometimes they're not necessarily the best. So it kind of is frustrating for me if I have nobody to play a team match with, to try to find a random stranger to play. You know what I mean? With that being said, I'm going to get you guys more team matches going in the very, very near future. That way you guys don't all have to watch 1v1s. Also, if you want to play a team match with me and be on my team, I post when I'm going on Age of Empires 3 on Twitter. So you can, if you follow me on Twitter, you're going to see an announcement like going on Age of Empires 3, now, do you want to come play? So I'd encourage you to do that if you want to play with me. That is now undoubtedly the best way to find me. Tell me you found me on Twitter, and I will definitely play with y'all. That's something I'm looking forward to. This game, I'm playing my buddy. He's in purple. He's Japanese. I'm playing green. I'm playing Dutch again one more time. Same Dutch strategy we're going to use here. I thought about fast fortressing, but then I decided not to, just because he is Japanese, and I'm expecting him, since he's pretty new to Rush, to do a very, very basic, powerful Japanese Rush. And let me edit that. When I say new to Rush, I don't mean he's a noob. He's got a 90% win ratio or something. He just hasn't played a whole ton of matches, but he's almost a captain in Treaty, and we're actually friends from playing Treaty games together. So that's where I know him from, in case you're wondering. So, but Rush isn't necessarily his cup of tea. With that being said, he's already my rank in Rush. So, go figure. The kid can play, right? So that's what's going on here. That's why we're playing. I am, of course, trying to get enough gold to get 15 villagers to age up, but I will probably end up aging with 16, just as it seems the strategy works better, just because of the amount of time it takes to gather food relative to getting your first shipment of 3 villagers, and it just seems to be the way it all works out. He, of course, is going to be Japan, and this is actually a really bad match to have to face a Japanese player on, because there is so many hurtables on this map. This is actually one of my favorite maps by far. The amount of hurtables on this map is crazy. By the way, I'd like to take this moment, though, to kind of step aside and just mention my deck. A lot of you guys mentioned in my previous videos that I did not have the Dutch Church card in my deck, and I'd just like to say you are absolutely correct. That was a huge, huge oversight in my gameplay. I didn't have that card. I added that card to this deck, and I removed the 700 gold to accommodate that card, and I also believe I removed some other card. I don't remember which one it was, but I added the advanced trading post. So I believe I also added a fencing school, possibly. So I've done a little bit of work with the Dutch deck, so I'd encourage you to pause the video and take a look at it and let me know what you think, if you think it's a little bit more solid. It's always kind of a battle between deciding short-term versus long-term benefits, and my friend's kind of promoting himself a little bit in the video. I'm almost at captain, which is perfectly fine. It's kind of funny. And yeah, he's pretty excited about getting there, and I do not blame him. I would be really stoked if I was at captain in Treaty also. And here we go. We have enough food to age, but as I said previously, we do have 16 villagers, so I'm not quite sure on how that's going to work, but we're going to focus on getting our first bank. And because I got that one wood treasure, and I saw this wood treasure guarded by the polar bear down at the south end of the map by Purple's trading post, I decided to actually build a trading post early. Something, I guess it's not necessarily a standard move, but all things considered, I felt like it was going to be a safe, and executable choice. Now here I make a pretty big blunder, although even right now, I'm not sure why this was a blunder, and let me explain that. I'm going for that 125 wood treasure at the bottom of the map by Purple's Town, and I'm going to use my crack shot on one guardian, and as you can see here, I'm looking at the polar bear's hit points. They have 420 hit points and a 10-hand attack. I had 220 hit points and a 21-hand attack or something, so I should have been able to just barely kill that polar bear in hand-to-hand combat. 400 to 10 relative to 220 and 21. By my calculations, and I was checking it, maybe I miscalculated in my head quickly, but I figured I would kill him faster than he would kill me. Maybe his rate of attacking was higher than mine or something, but I do actually end up losing my explorer there. However, it's not the end of the world, because what I will end up doing is I'll send my envoy over to come pick him up. As you can see here, I'm getting really nervous. I'm like, this shouldn't be happening, and he's still got 100 hit points left, and I'm checking. I'm like, nope, I screwed up somehow. So I'm going to try to run away here. And I'm mauled in the back of the head by a polar bear, unfortunately. But as you can see here, I have my envoy on the way to come pick him up, because my explorer will get a nice hit points bonus from hitting the colonial age, and I'm building my first bank right now. I probably could have gotten that out a little bit sooner. Now, knowing my friends Japan, knowing Japan's a little bit more of an economic-based civ, I'm going to play them the way to my terms rather than their terms. I'm going to focus on my economic strength as well, since Dutch is a very, very good economic civ in their own right. So as you can see here, we have our first bank up, and I sent the bank wagon as my second colonial aid shipment with 700 wood as my third shipment overall. Sorry, I sent the bank wagon as my first colonial aid shipment, second shipment overall. 700 wood is going to be my third shipment overall. It's an old story that you all are very, very familiar with by this point of the game, but it works, so we're not going to fix it, I guess. The reason why I sent 700 wood, though, is I'm going to want to get another barracks up, a few more houses, and have enough wood for another bank, I think. Hopefully my goal is to get 3 or so banks. I'm also going to be aware that I need to get a church built. If I'm going to use a church card, I'm going to want an arsenal later on so I can get my skirmishers a bonus. That's something I did in my last match, and I believe I do in this. I can't take myself seriously, but that's something that I execute in this match as well. It's a big boom to my military power to have the arsenal upgrade. I really have the maturity of a 4-year-old. I'm sorry, guys. I know you guys watch expecting great things and I make potty jokes, but we all got to start somewhere, right? Anyways, I'm waiting for the 700 wood to arrive. I'm going to gather it. I'm going to work on getting my second barracks right up, and that's kind of unique, I guess. I guess most Dutch players don't go with 2 barracks right off the bat, and I go to build this trading post there. As you guys can see, there's 4 trading posts on the map, and the one near me is bugged, and that actually has a huge outcome on the game. Honestly, I think that was a massive factor in having an outcome in the game, because my 4th card overall in this game is going to be the 2 outposts, because I wanted to gather those 2 herds and put a trading post there and barracks, and I couldn't build a trading post there. I was raging in game. I was just like, what? What do you mean I can't? And now he has shrines up, and I was not a happy camper by the slightest amount. And now I actually have an overabundance of wood, but that's okay, because my goal is, of course, to get another bank up very, very shortly, which I believe I'll be doing. I hope I do it. If I don't do it, I'm being pretty stupid, right? Meanwhile, though, I'm making skirmishers and pikemen and preparing to get my army going, getting villagers out, and sending my outposts, and that's kind of my plan. Now, I make a little bit of a rookie mistake. I just throw the outpost into his line of sight, where he can just clearly, easily destroy it. And he does, because one of the outposts never even gets placed. So then I realized, well, that's a really stupid idea. So I'm going to walk units forward and place them myself. And I made an actually pretty big error this match so far. Okay, there we go. But I could have had that bank built up maybe 30 or 40 seconds ago. That would have been a smarter choice. As you can see here, I'm putting my outpost to kind of create a little bit of a forward base. Unfortunately for me, I can't get that second trading post, and that's really going to hinder me, because I have an extra 200 wood pretty much sitting useless. What I really should be doing is I should have built 2 houses and gotten the trading post up, but rather I'm sitting on all the wood uselessly, but we'll take care of that hopefully soon. And I do actually have a little bit of my usual housing problem here, I believe. I end up building another bank with the wood. That's a good thing. Bank was a wise choice, but I will need to build another house very, very shortly, because I won't be able to make more men. As you can see here, I didn't realize that. I'm trying to make more skirmishers, and I can't. So I got pretty frustrated. But I am going to build my houses over here again. I'm just trying to cause some path-finding issues in case he rushes into my town with Naginata riders. Meanwhile, I'm also going to start picking off these shrines while my units are within the range of my towers. It's a fairly safe place to be, I felt. Unfortunately, I didn't get that second trade post, and notice that his economy is actually catching up pretty quickly in mine, so my early advantage is kind of disappearing. And I feel if I had that second trade post, I'd be in a way better shape. I would have had at least 1 or 2 more shipments, and I would have been golden. But I'm not, because I didn't get that trading post. I really felt like in-game, like that trading post was just a huge pain, just in terms of what I wanted to execute. As you can see here, we're doing a little bit better just in terms of resource management. 200 food, 700 gold, less than 100 wood. The gold's already invested back in units, but we're making a lot of gold now just because we have really good bank production, which is excellent. But that's good because we need to get skirmishers going. As you can see, I'm hotkeying my units, though. I'm very aware of the threat of Naginata riders, but I'm also aware that my skirmisher mass will beat a simple Ashigaru Yumi mass by him, so I'm not too stressed out or worried about it. And as you can see, I'm waiting on that house to be built, that way I can get that villager out as fast as possible. But overall, at this point, I've run out of wood, which is a good thing. We put the wood from the crates into banks and barracks and things of that nature, and we're going to send fencing school here. That way we can keep up production. But I'm really frustrated because now at this point, like, there's just not that much I can do. I am going to kind of march forward, though. My plan is just to kind of pick off some shrines easily and safely. Kind of bait him into attacking me, then hit and run. I think I have the micromanagement skills better than he does, even though he's almost a captain in Treaty. I felt like the difference between Treaty and, I guess, Rush is that in Treaty you're really focusing a lot more on micromanaging large units, whereas in Rush it's a lot more micromanaging smaller amounts of units, and it is kind of a little bit of a difference. Also, he probably should have been aggressive there and pushed, but he didn't. As you can see, I'm having a little bit of trouble, though, that's for sure, to getting my units to do what I want them to do. They're wandering and stuff, and that was a little bit frustrating. But I am kind of encroaching with my perimeter of houses. I'm pushing them forward, all while making more skirmishers, and that was actually a very, very lucky situation for me. He could have beat me there, probably even won the game there if he had pushed, but he just saw my mass units, and I guess he didn't calculate how strong his own army was. At this point, he is going to push forward, but we're going to have more units coming forward. And I do kind of start to flank with the pikemen, but I'm going to back them up because it's not a wise choice. He does take tower fire, and he does choose to retreat. Even at that point, it's questionable, but he might have been able to win it. Who knows? I would like to think he could have. Meanwhile, I got more skirmishers coming, so he's only going to be in more trouble long term, I guess. But, you know, yeah, I don't know. I think he could have probably won that fight. I know he could have won the before that, that's for sure. The initial fight there, he could have won. So he's kind of putting himself in a little bit of a rock and a hard place relatively. I feel as though I'm trying to, you know, hit and run me. I think skirmishers have a better range and are just a stronger unit overall. At this point, if you're going to let me just sit here and boom, I'm going to sit here and boom. I'm going to, you know, make villagers and banks and shrines. I'm not going to make shrines, but I'm going to make villagers and banks and try to do whatever I can and amass a unit. And considering that I only need 50 villagers to mass, you know, at some point my army is going to be bigger than your army. And with some smart card choices and smart upgrades, my army will be better than your army as well. If I micromanage riders and with my I don't know how to say them. People told me, they said make the UI sound, but, and I'm going to sound really stupid saying this, and I realize I can't save those men. I tried, but it was just retardedness. My fingers were actually on the wrong key there. That was what was happening. I was pressing the key I thought was their hotkey, but my fingers were shifted one over, and it was pretty much just useless. So we are going to kind of chase him back here, though. I felt as though at this point, even though he's a larger army, for some reason he's very, very scared of my skirms. So I'm going to kind of push forward and just take whatever pot shots I can. I don't think that turning around necessarily would have beaten me at this point in the game, but it would have been pretty much a stalemate, I think, at the very least. So I'm just going to keep working on getting units out on the field and, you know, doing my thing. And I'm really interested to see his reaction to this, just because I really felt like he could have won it and kind of let his chance slip away. The Dutch are one of those very, very good civilizations which simply just do a great job the longer a game goes on, you know what I mean? Now, my next card here is going to be the ability to make another bank, and at that point, we're increasing our skirmisher horde, growing it up to 31 or so, not to mention more pikemen, and we're keeping pikemen on the field because we have to keep Japan honest. He's likely going to try Naginata Riders. I'd be kind of surprised if he didn't. Knowing that Naginata Riders are going to be coming soon, it's very, very crucial that we keep, you know, even just 8 pikemen on the field will be enough to scare him away and do the damage we need it to do. Meanwhile, I'm going to pick off more shrines, but it was so frustrating to me that, you know, I couldn't get the trading post I wanted. And here, I don't know what he's going on, but he's doing a lot of walking around and trying to get fancy stuff going on. And then he ends up walking back, and I think that's very, very stupid. You shouldn't be in transition against an enemy that's firing against you needlessly, if that makes any sense. Like, he's walking forward, walking back, you know, not sure if he's hitting and running or whatever, but if he had just stayed there and fought, you know, he would have taken less loss than if he had walked forward, then decided, oh, no, wait, I need to move forward, and then walk backwards, and then, you know what I mean? He wasted a lot of time there, I felt, you know, kind of being indecisive, trying to figure out what he wanted to do, allowing me to get a little bit more fire on him than I probably would have otherwise. I don't know how much of a massive difference it would have made, but in this case, it made a pretty big difference. I was about to send the church card there, but considering that I'm using so many skirmishers, I ended up sending the skirmisher attack card, and at this point, I had let my pikemen die. I had rushed them in to kind of, I I felt like I was going to win that fight, so I'm like, well, we'll just rush the pikeman in, no big deal. And I end up getting chased away by Naginata riders, which he finally has on the field. But unfortunately for us, we're going to have to hit and run all the way back, and we're going to lose a lot of units. But we're going to immediately start chasing him. We can't just let him slip away and feel like he's okay. But I'm going to start making pikemen immediately and looking towards upgrades to buy and making sure my mills are as efficient as possible. And I'm having a little bit of a wood shortage, and unfortunately now he is in the Fortress Age, which really sucks because I can tell from the little side thing that he aged up with the Buddha, which allows him to see the map, which now means he can see what I'm up to, which means now at this point it's more imperative for me than ever to keep pressure on him. And I can't just keep pressure on him. I have to be enough of a threat that he is forced to respond to me. That's what we're going to try to do here. But more importantly, at the moment, we're going to what? More importantly, at the point, I really thought I bought the farming upgrade at this point. Do I not? Oh, I buy more pikemen, right? Because I assumed at this point he was massing Naginata. All he's seen me master skirms, so there's no point, you know, for him not to mass Naginata. So therefore, it's more imperative than ever. I get more pikemen on the field to kind of counter that, you know, and then back it up with my 27 skirms. And there come the Naginata as expected. So we're gonna kind of march the pikemen around, and this is pretty awesome. He's gonna kind of flank me, so we're gonna send the pikemen up and after him and back. Meanwhile, the skirmishers are just going to stand there and fire at everybody, which is awesome. And those pikemen are just going to start eating the Naginata alive, killing them, which was pretty awesome indeed. And it kind of, at this point, I felt as though he was kind of dead, so I'm going to really start pushing forward. And I think he aged up just because he could. I don't necessarily know what benefit he got from aging, but I think it would have been wiser for him not to have aged at this particular junction, just because it felt to me like one of those things where it's like, oh man, you aged, but what benefit? Did you get a unit upgrade? Did you know what I mean? I don't know if he necessarily got any huge benefit from aging. Meanwhile, I'm just going to keep pushing him back a little bit more, and I know it's a very lengthy, drawn-out campaign at this time, but I kind of just want to keep taking whatever ground I'm given and whatever shrines I'm given. So I'm going to back up my pikemen, though, at this point. They're really, remember, there just to serve as a guard, a meat shield against Naginatas from coming in. And then I see that he did get some flaming arrows and some samurai. I don't know whether there's a Hamoto samurai or just regular samurai. But at this point, I'm like, alright, well, we're going to need to hit the Fortress Age in our own right in order to counter him. So let's go to the advanced trading post. No, let's not. Let's send the other bank card. Let's focus on getting a mass units, and let's focus on hitting the Fortress Age quickly, because our Cav, which is anti-Cav, you know, our special judge Cav, which I don't know how to say, guys. I have no clue in the world. It's like, they said make the UI sound, but I don't know what sound that is. And then somebody else put a really, really helpful translation, and I wrote it down, and then I don't have that piece of paper with me, so I don't remember how to say it. But I'm going to call them routers, the R guys, you know, those guys. Once I have those on the map and I match those in with my skirmishers, I can then micromanage, and I will just micromanage my way out of this situation. And I do have a pretty sizable economic lead by him, 20 points, and 20 points isn't a humongous amount until you consider that my score is 200, his score is 180, so that's almost a 20%, you know, increase of economic strength. And as we retreat here, we are going to keep our pikemen and our skirmishers very, very close to each other, just to protect them both. And we have 27 on food, which is good. 38 villagers total. 2 new stables up and running. Probably should get some more barracks up and running. We're still operating out of our initial 2. Not a good choice. I will build barracks, but by the end of the game, but it's a little bit later. And at this point, I decide, you know what? Let's take out that forward. Shrine he has to the right of my town. I couldn't think of the word shrine there. My apologies. Let's take out that forward shrine while we give the writers, or whatever they're called, a chance to train and get on the field. That way we can kind of just take away his line of sight. I don't want him to be able to see what I'm doing. So that's what's going on there. I'm at 93 out of 120 population. Not fabulous, but not that awful relative for me. You know me, guys. I'm not doing that bad. And I am going to look to get an arsenal built, but then I don't have enough wood yet. Boo-hoo-hoo. And I did build a market, by the way. I assume I bought the market upgrades at some point. I didn't point them out just because I felt like I didn't need to, so that's that. And as you can see here, we're going to keep pushing forward and just taking out whatever little shrines we can to keep the pressure on him. I don't really want to fight him yet, but I want him to feel like there's this huge ass army that can kick his ass, just kind of always on the peripheral of his mind and his vision. So his mind's always concerned with that. With that being said, he's closed the economic gap again really quickly. I probably should get some more banks built up. I believe I have the capacity to build 2 more or 1 more, and I have not yet, so that's kind of stupid. Maybe I've been focusing a little bit too much on my military relative to my not military. But as you can see at this point, in comes some Naginatas, but we're going to back up. And I realized at this point my control groupings were a little bit weird, but it's not that bad. And we are going to get another bank built up and more Reiter. Is that right? I'm going to say Reiter for the rest of this video, just so I have a way to say it. Reiter. We're going to get more Reiters on the field. Yeah, and we had bought all our market upgrades except the coin gathering upgrade, which somebody pointed out to me in another video I didn't buy. But looking back on it, I don't really see that as a necessary upgrade, considering that I switched to banks pretty quickly. It's going to end up costing me total, it cost me 75 food and 75 coin in the first age, and then it cost me more in the second age. So I don't think it's worth it, to be honest. And I happen to see a flaming arrow here, so I'm going to take the shots at it to kill it. And I do kill it, and then I'm going to run away. But I was pretty happy. He had 3 or 4 flaming arrows, and I was just able to kill one of them. And now I'm going to switch to making Hussar because, as you can see, he's got a massive skirmishers, or Yumi archers, I should say, and seemingly everything that's weak to Hussar. So we're going to adapt our army here. There's no point to make Reiter if the units he has are not weak to Reiter. So that's my goal here. But we do have our army pretty well hotkeyed, and we're coordinating them fairly well. And at this point, actually, my economy's ballooned ahead again. I guess it's just the advantage of getting another bank built up, which is a good thing. Now, are the Hussar on the field yet? The Hussar were not on the field yet, and I probably should have been making villagers at this point. I didn't necessarily do as good of a job as I say I can do, or really do. Oh, man, I keep engaging him here, but I want to wait until I can get the Hussar to flank him and really kind of take advantage of him. But I only have 5 at this point. I want to get at least 10 or 15, and then I'll rush in with the skirmishers, and I'll cause other problems for him that will hopefully give him much grief and much heartache. But at this point, I'm going to work on getting another bank. Meanwhile, my Reiters are going to circle around and attack the trading post, and this was kind of a cool thing I was doing. I'm like, all right, we have 10 Hussar now, right? Now, if he marches back, just gut check, mass clicks his units to march back, his cannon will automatically end up at the back of his army. You know what I mean? So I could possibly run back with Hussar and just pick them off. And that's exactly what's going to happen here. His army's marching down, but his flaming arrows are along the back. And his flaming arrows are really the only thing I'm worried about killing my massive skirmishers. And so at this point, I'm just going to run away. But my objective was already completed. And now I have my Reiters on the way. And as you can see, using hotkeys was awesome here, because now I'm going to have them come in and flank from the right or so. The left. They're going to come in from the left. I threatened to kill him completely there, but I ended up not doing that just because I didn't quite get it pulled off. But now at this point, I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, there's too many hotkey groups. I have skirmishers on hotkey 1, pikemen on hotkey 2, Hussar on hotkey 4, and Reiters on hotkey 3. So I'm like frantically trying to, I need this unit here and that unit here, and, trying to coordinate. Usually it's so much easier if you have 1 or 2 hotkey groups of units, but in this case I have like 4. I ended up putting my anti-cav together and my anti-cav and my anti-infantry together. But at this point, I kind of get caught here, and he did to me what I try to do to people. He got my army kind of attacking the wrong unit, so to speak. Fortunately, I do have a much larger and much better trained unit, so it's not necessarily the end of the world. I do have Hussar to sponge the damage of his Naginata riders. Meanwhile, I do back up initially with my skirmishers. I do not want to risk losing them, and I do have so many resources at this point. It's not really a humongous end of the world in terms of pushing forward. I think I can push fairly convincingly at this point. And I thought I was going to win this battle. I could not tell how many units there were because of the trees. I also was having trouble telling what units were what and attacking them. I'm like, well, I want to attack him, but I couldn't quite reach it. And it was a really interesting battle to me. It's like, he's hiding in these trees and I can't get to him. And my Hussar like frantically running around trying to attack. But not the end of the world. We are going to get another bank and our church set up. Our economy is going to keep growing. We're going to keep being wise. I do need to get the arsenal upgrade soon. I think I forgot to do that in this game, but as you can see, we're fighting in the trees, and he actually managed to kill a lot of my Hussar. which kind of surprised me. I was kind of like, oh wow, I did not expect that to happen. And so at this point, I was like, well, uh-oh. But considering that it appears that most of what he's counter spamming back at me is Ashugaru, it's not the end of the world. I'm going to keep engaging with my skirmishers in the trees, and meanwhile, I'm going to run my Hussar into his town. My hope is that if he turns back and runs, I will just absolutely decimate him in crossfire with my musketeers or with my skirmishers, and that's exactly what's going to happen here. We're in his town now, wrecking havoc. Meanwhile, my skirmishers are in the forest, wrecking havoc as well. That was a nice little cross move, you know. It took the focus off that one battle and opened a front that was on my plane, and he acknowledged it. He was like, nice. And I felt pretty happy at that moment. It is a game, obviously, you know, when we play for fun, but it's always nice, you know, when you can acknowledge that somebody else did a good job. You know, he's done a lot of really nice things in Treaty, so, you know, it's nice to, at least against him in particular, be on the winning end of a good move. And I didn't lose any Hussar there until I run into this batch of Ashugaru, so I'm just going to crisscross through his town, causing havoc. Meanwhile, we're going to keep pushing with a massive skirmishers, and there's not much at this point he can do relatively to stop me. I've kind of had my way with him, so to speak, just in terms of pushing. My skirmishers did come forth in the Battle of the White Tree. So melodramatic, isn't it? But my skirmishers did win that initial battle, and now we're going to push on and fight even more battles in the trees. But, yeah. And I'm, of course, just running around with my units, just causing him problems. And he still managed to get a really good mass out of units really quickly. So this was a really competitive, hard-fought match, I guess, just in terms of, you know, getting units out on the field. I am at this point, though, I'm going to send some villagers down to kind of build a forward base. I realized at this point, you know, we got to push forward and win this game. He was simply, despite how much pressure I put on him, he was doing a great job with Japan's really strong economy, always getting some units back out on the map, which was definitely a bummer for me, but I guess not the total end of the world. I also didn't make more than 40 villagers. I probably should have, but it's one of those things. Generally, when I feel like I'm winning the game, I generally don't keep making villagers, and I don't want to sound like a jerk, but it's like I know that I'm winning the game. So I know that I could kind of like blow the game open or whatever, but I'm kind of like, well, I'm already winning anyway, so why bother to make my economy even stronger? Which I guess is really stupid because it gives enemies a chance to get back into it, you know? So like if I had made 10 more villagers and focused on getting my economy better, then this really would have been a blowout at this point. But I knew I was going to win anyway, so I generally, like, when I feel like I'm winning the game, I don't focus on my economy at all. Like, I literally just ignore it. I think, well, I got it. You know, why waste my time? He said he was going to resign, but he hasn't resigned yet, so I'm just going to keep making barracks and units and pushing forward. And we kind of discussed a little bit how to beat a skirm pikeman rush in Age 2, and I guess just massing Yumi is your best choice. That does leave him open to Hussar, a lot of Hussar pressure, but I guess if he just on his own massed in a few Ashugaru, it would probably be fine. I think that's the best strategy choice there in terms of just, you know, of Dutch Japan matchup. I thought this matchup would actually probably be better for the Japanese when I was facing it, but I guess it wasn't that bad of a matchup for him or for me after all. Skirmishers are really powerful. They do a great job. It's been nice playing as Dutch and having access to skirmishers in Age 2 every single game. It's been really good. I'm having a little bit of trouble here with my units automatically, instead of attacking, going to burn down his buildings. That's a quick way to lose a battle, you know. Lose a bunch of units because they're not actually attacking the enemy. But we're going to push forward. I don't know how Yumi stacked up necessarily to skirmishers, though. I think skirmishers actually have a better range, and that's probably not a good thing for him. You know, if skirmishers have a better range and higher attack and are bulkier, which I believe they are all of the above, but on the downside, I think they're actually a little bit more expensive, so that's what's going on. I am going to bother to make more banks here, though, since I'm running out of coin. But again, you know, it was really just because I needed to do something, I guess, or I was actually out of coin. But I don't like putting the pedal to my metal economically in 1v1s when I have control of the situation, I guess. But whatever. So we're building another bank and just doing some basic economic stuff. And now we'll have a full 8 banks out, and we're just going to push through his town and keep doing what we got to do. But it's more or less over, and it was a really fun game. He's a good friend, and we actually talked a little bit after this game in the chat. We're like, you know, let's get some treaty stuff going. So we're going to work on getting some treaty matches brought to y'all pretty soon. I don't know exactly how or what. He suggested a Dutch v Dutch treaty mirror, and I hated that idea. I absolutely hated that idea. I don't really play Dutch in treaty, and the only treaty I really play in Russian, and you're going to say I'm really lame, but I really play Russian in treaty. It's just my favorite civilization, being an actual Russian. Y'all Ruski, I guess. I love playing Russian, and I've mastered Russian. Like, I score over 2,000 in treaty, by 40 each game, and I can fight with the best of them. I can hold my own with any civilization. Obviously, some civilizations like Spain and France are a little bit tougher of matchups relative to others, But at the same time, I can hold my own more or less against anybody, and that's awesome. To be that kind of guy where I can go into a game with captains and whatever and be like, no, and I'm high enough rank too as well, and I love that, That's where I actually met this guy playing a high rank treaty game, So that's kind of a good thing, but I only play Russian, and I'm not sure I want to play Russian in a treaty video, just because Russia's considered overpowered in treaty, and I don't know, I'd feel pretty bad if I feel pretty bad if I kind of was playing an overpowered treaty civ, especially if he wasn't. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, I'd like to be a little bit fair at the very least, but whatever. And he says, wait, don't attack the consulate, I got something coming. And I know he's making Hamamoto, but I'd stop attacking the consulate anyway. And then I go back to attacking it, and there come out 2 Hamamoto, but I'm just going to micromanage my units to shoot them dead. I'm a bad friend. I knew what he was doing, so I wanted to try to stop him as soon as I knew he was doing it, but, yeah. So, anyways, it was a really, really fun match to play with him. I'm going to get you more 3v3s, and 2v2s, but before I leave, let me let you know, if you want to play with me, follow me on Twitter, because that way you'll find out when I'm online. If you want to discuss in-depth strategy, go to Age Forums, at agecommunity.com to talk to me, or go to my Facebook page. And yeah, if you really want to play into me, Twitter. I'll say it again, Twitter. It's a great way to find me and play with me. It'll make me really happy if you guys followed me on Twitter, just because it'd be like, I feel like I have to have a Twitter account just to be a successful YouTuber now. And so I want to put that channel, I want to put Twitter to use. So maybe each time before I go onto Twitter, I'll put like a password or something in Twitter, So if you want to play me, give me the password from my Twitter account. That way, it kind of forces y'all to follow me. I don't know. That might be too draconian. I'll think about it. But anyways, we're going to get more team matches. We're going to finish up our week with Dutch. In case you're wondering, by the way, we're going to finish out this week with Dutch, having another Dutch video tomorrow. Weekend's off, just so I can get some time to kind of get my head away from YouTube and I can go do things out in the real world. And then on Monday, we're going to resume our next week, which will be, drum roll please, drum. It will be Ottoman, which should be super exciting. Week after that will be Aztec, and then the week after that will be Portuguese. I'm booked 3 weeks in advance, 3.5 weeks in advance. So I hope you guys enjoy the next coming weeks of content. We're going to keep trying new strategies, fast fortressing and rushing. I'm actually going to try some interesting strategies. I know this week of Dutch has been kind of generic and bland, but a lot of this week has been focused on the actual stuff I have to do in terms of getting my channel, set up for the fall and, the winter when I don't have time to do all this fun stuff, getting the thumbnails set up and all that. Again, thanks to Cross-Eyed Gamer for making my amazing, sexy thumbnails. I love them. Thank you guys for watching. I love you all, and I really appreciate it. It means so much to me. But before I go, I got one last thing to give you, and that is today's quote of the day from Sun Tzu and the Art of War, and it says, "Walk in the path defined by rule, and accommodate yourself to the enemy until you can fight a decisive battle." My name's BTM, guys. Thanks for watching, and until next time, good luck and happy hunting.